Welcome again to SCAN's Career Corner, co-sponsored by the Greater Long Branch Chamber of Commerce. We all age, and hopefully we live long enough to age, and I think what is going on in our country today is that we're promoting more and more healthy living. But of course, there are times when we need that insurance because things just happen to us. Today we have our guest is Bob Haggan. Is that pronounced correctly?
Haggan, correct.
Okay. Who's an expert in the Medicare field predominantly. Is that correct?
Well, we're not allowed to say expert.
Oh, okay.
But it's the only
I call him an expert. He doesn't have to call himself an expert.
It's the only insurance product that I work with.
Okay.
I'm not a jack of all trades. For the past 11 years, I've been doing only Medicare for people who are 65 and older, or some people under 65 with disabilities may also qualify.
Okay, let's get back to how you got to where you are.
Well, out of college, way long ago, I started working with a fellow who was selling printing and promotional products. We were very close. He was my mentor. We opened a couple of video stores together while we had that business.
What are these?
Right?
What video stores?
Well, we got in '86 and got out in '88. So, but after exiting the video business, I had some money and I opened up my own distributorship of selling printing and promotional products. 9/11 came along. Business took a big hit. 2008, it took another hit, and in between 9/11 and 2008, I, got my insurance license. My dad was in a nursing home, and I saw how much that cost, and I, did some research, and I said, what, I want to help people with long-term care insurance.
Wow.
But then, that was, I wasn't very good at it. Long-term care insurance wasn't inexpensive, and asking somebody in their 70s or 80s for a $5,000 check just didn't, it wasn't for me. So a friend of mine said, what, you should be working for people with Medicare. Some of the plans are zero, or some of the plans are, 20% of the cost of what someone's paying now for regular insurance. You could really help them.
Wow, I do a lot of elder law and work with a lot of elder people, so this is something that my compatriots, my compadres would certainly be a lot interested in, because we get these questions all the time and really don't know where to seek out someone like yourself. How did you learn about all this stuff? It seems to be almost mind-boggling, some of the rules and regulations and when you could do this, when you can't do that, and maybe we could start with, when does Medicare kick in?
Okay, so Medicare basically kicks in at 65 and older, or under 65 if you have a disability. So when you turn 65 years ago, I've been doing this for 11 years, most people had Medicare Part A and Part B when they turned 65.
One's doctors, one's hospitals, right?
Right, and you get your Medicare Part A automatically when you turn 65 because you've been paying in your paycheck for your Medicare Part A. But on the card it says, if you do not want Part B, just sign this and send it back.
Well, if you have someone in your family who has good coverage for both of you, you don't need B yet. Is that correct?
Correct, if you're still working or if your spouse is working, because when you do take Part B, if you're collecting a Social Security check this year, they're going to be taking out $104.90 out of your Social Security check. So most people, if they're still working and they're covered through their job, they don't elect to take Part B.
So, but this $104, that's regardless of how much Social Security is giving you?
No, it depends. It goes under, for an individual under $85,000 worth of income, it'd be $104.90.
Okay. What
so
about
if
it's
the
over?
more money, you could be up to $220 or higher.
Okay, but still getting back to the question, let's assume there was a low wage earner, say lifetime earnings maxed out at say $20,000 or $25,000, and the monthly check is not as great as someone who makes, who may have made $85,000. Is that 104 still applicable to the lower recipient as opposed to a higher recipient?
Correct.
Oh,
Correct.
So it's a flat cost, so it's spread out through the thing. So getting back to that though, how do you learn all this stuff?
Well, I was lucky enough, knowing enough people that I was able to work with United Healthcare through their AARP.
Okay.
So they bring you on and you get a nice training. But I've learned an awful lot by making presentations. 11 years ago, I was 47, so I'd be sitting down with people who had Medicare. They knew more about it than I did. So I kept my ears open, learned an awful lot, and, study, and we're tested every year, AARP. does a tough screening process, vetting process yearly, and so I learned through that.
When I turned 65 and I had to go through the process, there's a lot of information that's on the screens. Okay, you look it up. And even as an attorney, some of the stuff is written in governmentese, meaning some government guy wrote it, and it's not necessarily what we would call plain language. And a lot of times you're going through it, and you don't know if you're in a catch-22 or whether you're in the right catch or no catch. So someone like yourself is someone that someone could call and say, Bob, help me out with this. Is that
Correct.
pretty much the way it works?
Certain times, United Healthcare, they get phone calls. They'll send it to me. I'll call someone, and they don't want anyone coming to their house.
Right.
Okay, I can understand that, but I only look it through myself, and I just see how much benefit I can give someone. All I do is, Medicare insurance, and the insurance companies compensate me. So to go out to see you, you don't pay anything more. The insurance is regulated by the state of New Jersey. So if you buy it directly from United Healthcare, Aetna, or Horizon, you're going to pay the exact same rate as if you use someone like myself.
So now you're actually explaining something to me, because, again, those people who are going to be turning 65 will probably have the exact same experience. I must have had 7 to 10 mail solicitations from different companies. So that's what you're referring to.
Correct.
The ones that were United are the ones that would be coming from your company as opposed to somebody else's company. Correct. That comes to me.
Now, I do represent every insurance company in the state of New Jersey, okay? Because I think I don't work for the insurance companies. If I was out to see you, I work for you. So, my contract with United Healthcare and AARP is that I present their product. However, if that's not a right fit for you, I can, help you with something else.
I mean, different companies will charge you differently, or
for the
what
exact
they
same
give you
plan,
covered?
absolutely. For the exact same plan, like a Medicare supplement, I'm guessing maybe you have F. So if you have Plan F, you don't pay to go to the doctors, you don't pay to go to the hospital, you don't pay for blood work.
But you pay premiums to get that benefit for no copay.
Correct. So now United Healthcare might be $172, Horizon might be $184, et cetera, et cetera. But even more important is the drug coverage. Okay.
Part D now. Is
Part D.
What's C? Before we get to D,
C is a Medicare Advantage plan.
What is that?
It's A, B, and D combined to get C. Okay? So the Medicare's Advantage
How do you get
plan,
an A, B, and D and make a C?
It's the new math.
I like vitamin C, take it every day, so I try to wards off colds, but go ahead.
Part C is a Medicare Advantage plan. Okay, many people have, 28% of the people who pick insurance are now going for a Medicare Advantage plan. Most of the plans are HMOs. You have to see a doctor in the network, but you're not paying a premium for the plan. Whereas someone with Medicare Supplement Plan F might be paying $170 a month, that's $65, plus another $40 for the drugs, that's $210. A person that has Part C, the Medicare Advantage plan, most cases will not have a monthly premium. Pay zero to see your prime. Because if someone joins a Medicare Advantage plan, instead of when you go to the doctor, you're showing your Medicare card. Doctor's billing Medicare, then the balance goes on to the insurance company.
Right.
If someone has a Medicare Advantage plan, they're showing the company's card, AARP Medicare Complete. They show that to the doctor, and the doctor only bills the insurance company. Because every person that's enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan, the government pays the insurance company to take care of them.
Well, it's third-party processors is what you're saying.
Well,
basically.
Years ago when, President Bush, when they were looking at it and they're saying, listen, the private insurance companies can do a better job than Medicare.
Right.
Okay, because they're looking at the bills a little closer, and we see how much Medicare fraud there is. So,
Probably more than anybody can imagine.
Correct.
I've run across many where there's somehow, and if you recall, Bob, and it wasn't that long ago, sometime I believe last year or earlier this year, where there was a lot of airplay about how some hospitals are the most expensive in the country. They're not necessarily the most expensive. They just bill Medicare as much as they possibly can because they look at it as a negotiating tactic.
Correct.
So what a doctor may get reimbursed for a $1,500 procedure that he bills $50,000 for, and I know I see some of these things, my head swoons. What's the advantage to the hospitals by billing so high. I mean, Medicare's not going to give them the money.
Yeah, that's
It's
above,
just kind of
that's
silly.
above my pay grade.
But it just seems insane. And we had a guest not that long ago talk about the HIPAA regulations and enforcement and how there could be a lot of penalties. But I do a lot of estate work, and sometimes we get a bill. This is not a bill. 5 years later,
Right.
and those people are never going to get paid because they were screwed up on what they should have been billing. And so now if the hospital's going broke, it's their own damn fault for not keeping up with accurate billing or coding or everything else that goes with that.
And that's one of the things that, I tell my people, my phone number that they have is my cell phone. I don't screen my calls. Today the interview, my phone's off, but I call everybody back, and if I'm not with somebody, I answer my calls because, last year I enrolled 2 men that were 95 years old each. Okay, because everything changes every year. They needed someone. I was in there, and then you don't want to be doing this at age 95. But unfortunately, with all the changes, I'll go back to the home and look at the bill and say, no, you don't have to pay this. It says this is not a bill.
Right.
But if they get the money, I believe it's probably hard to get it back from them.
Yes. That's why I say you pay nothing until you have to pay something. And a lot of people just got to get that bill off their desk and they sign it up, and then I say, oops, you should have done that, because now you may not ever see that money again. So at what age would you start talking to people about this, about the Medicare coverage?
Well, before you turn 65, you really should get a hold of Social Security. If you're still working, you let them know, your A is going to start, but you might want to wait on your Part B, or you want your Part B to start. And then once your Part B starts, if you know your Part B is starting and you have A, you want to talk to someone like myself, a couple of months, 2-3 months before you're going to turn 65. And we can go onto the computer and look at your drugs and make sure you're in a drug plan. In Monmouth County, there's 29 different drug plans.
Oh.
And for people that were enrolled last year, the first week of October, they're going to get in the mail. It's going to say, this is the difference between your plan from this year to last year.
Oh, okay. But see, now that's really crazy, because the guest we had that talked about HIPAA, talked about the privacy of what people are taking, and yet here you're getting solicitations about people who know what drugs they have.
Well, no, that's from the company that they have now.
Oh, the company that they have now.
Right, so if you have AARP, they're saying, okay, listen, your premium last year was $50 a month. This year it's going to be $60, but you're taking, and this isn't correct, but they could say, listen, you're taking Crestor. We're not going to cover Crestor next year. So you really have to pay attention to those, because they might drop a drug that's very important to you when you have to find a new drug.
So most of your client interaction is done at their home, or some of it's at your office?
No, most of it is all done at their home. I do a number of speaking engagements at IHOPs and diners and senior buildings. I will meet people at the diner, but 90-some% is basically sitting down at the kitchen table. If I get to see, my wife was born in Sicily, so I have a lot of Italian clients, and they all give me espresso, and we have a good time.
Did you learn any Italian just to get by a little bit if your wife's not around?
I capisce.
Capisco, no capisco. So you find it something that's really rewarding?
Absolutely. I felt like I was meant for the business. Some other things I've coached for 19 years children and adults with disabilities in sports. Working now, I'm president of the On My Own Foundation. We want to get affordable housing for people with disabilities.
That's a great organization.
And
I'm glad you mentioned it. I'll tell you why, Bob, because there's always life to then your daily life, that you have more to do. And I want to thank you for being on here, and thank you for watching us on Scan's Career Corner.